Panic mode is setting in Dallas as the Cowboys just did the unthinkable. They got Dak Prescott's replacement. Dallas still stinks. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Jerry Jones. You're 6,563 years old. You're 6,564 years old. You're 6,565 years old. You're 6,666 years old, you satanic mother humper. Yo, by the way, kick Dingbat here. I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. We gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about this as panic is setting in Dallas. They are fearful. They are making excuses. They are trying to tell themselves they just needed a better quarterback. They're actually saying, what does this mean about Cooper Rush? What does it mean about Cooper Rush? That's the last guy you should be worried about. Now, we're going to get into it in a second, but before we do that, if you're new to the channel, you like the content, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the most censored, the most throttled, especially after this video, pause, Eagles content creator in all of the internet. And if you've been subscribed for a while, I just want to thank you for all the support you give to me. Now, this video is coming out late. I know I had to wait till later to do it because this news broke late this afternoon as the Dallas Cowboys just did something so stupid. And this video isn't going to be all about the Cowboys. I got to get off my chest some things about that. But then I do want to talk about the Eagles and trades that I think they're going to make. But first, we got to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. So, breaking news. The 49ers are trading Trey Lance to the Cowboys for a 4th-round pick. Sources tell Adam Schefter. Now, this is a very, very interesting. This is very interesting because a 4th-round pick, and this is how I see this whole thing. A 4th-round pick, to me, is a valuable pick. When I look at the Eagles drafting a 4th-round pick, I always say, I expect the 4th-round pick to make the roster. I expect him to make the roster. So why would the Cowboys give up a 4th-round pick, a valuable pick, for a quarterback who's going to be what? The 3rd string? Very interesting. Or you're going to say, oh, well, for a 2nd-string quarterback? Nah, you don't give up a 4th-round pick for a guy like Trey Lance when you have Dak Prescott. Unless one thing, you're preparing for life after Dak. Dak Prescott's days are numbered. That's what this is all about. Because the Cowboys, what they're saying, and this shows you, the Cowboys think they're so good and they're much better than what they are. What they're saying is we don't know that Dak Prescott can win a Super Bowl. We don't know that he can win a championship. And Jerry Jones, it's his birthday. He is 6,567 years old. Just left his satanic year. But he thinks he built a roster that is a Super Bowl roster. He thinks he's built one of his best rosters. At 6,568 years old, the guy thinks he built his best roster. Meanwhile, he's forgetting about the rosters he had in the 90s. That's because he's 569 years old. So he's old. Imagine being 6,570 years old. So he is saying that he built a team that is capable of winning a Super Bowl. And if Dak Prescott can't get it done, he's gone. That's what they're saying. The Dallas Cowboys, I have said this. I have said many things. They're living on the edge. They're on the edge of total collapse. They start slow. Something happens. God forbid. It's going to all come crashing down. You can already tell. Look at Mark Holmes. Mark Holmes is literally on edge. He's on edge. He goes off and goes off a pizzle. He's talking about this, talking about this. He does 9,000 Eagle videos a day. And then he comes to my chat and people talk to him. And then he's doing videos about people talking to him in my chat. I mean, he's losing his mind. He's losing his mind. He's actually trying to do meltdown videos in preseason. It don't work. And now he's got to make the big excuses. Oh, this is all about Cooper Rush. This is all about, what does this say about Cooper Rush? You mean Cooper Rush who won, what, 5 games in a row last year? It says nothing about him. This is about Dak Prescott. The Dallas Cowboys are thinking that what they're going to do is very simple. They're going to go out and they're going to let Trey Lance develop for a year, try to develop him, and if Dak Prescott can't win, instead of redoing his contract and giving him big money, they're going to get rid of him. This is probably Dak Prescott's last year in Dallas because he ain't getting out of the second round of the playoffs. So Trey Lance to Dallas is a huge, huge telltale sign that the Cowboys are not happy with Dak Prescott. That the long-term plan for Dak Prescott is up in the air. And the Cowboys are looking at it like, we went out and we did all this stuff. This is Jerry Jones' line of thinking, and I don't think he's right, but this is his line of thinking. We went and we got all these guys. We got Cooks. We got Stephon Gilmore. If this team can't win and Dak Prescott can't get us to at least the Super Bowl, then we got to move on from him. Why don't we get a young guy like Trey Lance who's got a skill set and at least is athletic, and let's try to develop him. That's what they're doing. That's what this is all about. And the Cowboys they should be very, very worried about their season because it looks like it's all coming and it's all falling apart. And I love it. I love it. Now, as far as the Birds go, and I know, and I want to thank you, Eagle fans, for putting up with me having to talk about that. I couldn't contain myself, right? Just think of this as an extra video today. I wasn't planning on putting it out. But as far as our Eagles go, right now, where I sit, there hasn't really been any movement yet. But movement I expect. And I wanted to go a little deeper into some of the things I think could happen in terms of trades that I didn't get and fit in my 53-man roster video. But first thing first, when you look at the Eagles and the hardest group where they got to cut, it's going to be the cornerbacks. It's the defensive backs, in my opinion. And you got to find a way to keep Mekhi Gardner on this roster. Eli Ricks has to be on this roster. These guys have to be on the roster. And you would have to keep 7 corners. So I think the Eagles are going to look to make some trades, look to make some movement. The one guy I think is most likely to be gone, even after doing his contract, I think it's Derek Barnett. I think the Eagles will try to trade Derek Barnett. I think Derek Barnett is a very, very real possibility of being traded. I could see a situation where they keep Barnett on the roster, they trade him, it opens up a roster spot, and then they find a way to squeeze in Mekhi Gardner or something like that. Also, another guy that I think we got to watch for, I don't know that he'll make the 53-man roster. This probably will happen before the 53-man roster, but there's a lot of chatter, a lot of rumors, a lot of talk that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are interested in Greg Ward Jr. I would not be surprised if the Eagles try to do right by Greg Ward Jr. and instead of just flat out cut him, send him to a team like Tampa who needs him and do something like that. So I could see a situation like that unfolding. I think those are 2 guys that have very real possibilities of getting traded. I don't think the Eagles, I think they've got a very talented young defensive back core. And listen, if you can't keep Mekhi Gardner and you can't keep all these defensive backs, instead of cutting them, you might as well trade them. You might as well trade one of them. Get something for it, because I think that the Eagles have one of the most young, talented defensive back classes, in terms, not class, but depth. I think they have a young cornerback class in the last 2 years of unrestricted free agents. The Kylie Ringo signing, even though he hasn't looked good in preseason, I expect him to eventually develop. I look at rookies this way. I always say this. I don't look at rookies as why aren't you at this point or why aren't you at this point when you come into the league. I always look at it like, all right, this is his starting point. You're drafting a guy primarily based upon what you think he can become and what he can do. That's his starting point. Wherever he's at right now is his starting point. Let's see what he does year 2, year 3. That's how I look at Jordan Davis. People want to give Jordan Davis a lot of crap. But the truth of the matter is I look at Jordan Davis as last year was his starting point. Let's see where he goes from this year, from last year to this year. So you got to see how a guy is going to jump. So I look for Greg Ward Jr. to possibly get traded. I look for Derek Barnett to possibly get traded. And then as far as what you would bring in, I think there's two. I mean, obviously you got the Jonathan Taylor rumors. My thoughts on that are I think it's 50-50 that the Eagles could do it. I'm not expecting it. I'm not holding my breath for it. I do think the Eagles, for the right price, they would love to do it. Yes, I do. Especially Nick Sirianni having head coached him. But I'm not holding my breath to it. However, I do think that the safety position, based upon how the Eagles used the safeties within preseason. I mean, Sidney Brown playing into the fourth quarter in the last preseason game, to me, is crazy. Kevon Wallace out there. What I think is, I don't think they're settled at one of that safety spots. I think they like Reed Blankenship. He's locked in. I think the other spot, we think it's going to be Sidney Brown. They may not feel he's ready. And I think if something opens up for a safety like Jeremy Chinn, I think the Eagles will jump on it. And I think that you have to look for it. And maybe it's not Jeremy Chinn. Maybe we have to think it's somebody we're not even thinking of. Howie usually makes trades that nobody sees coming. But somebody who has a lot of upside, maybe in the last year of a contract, which is Jeremy Chinn, by the way, and, can come in and play. And that's what I think we have to look for. We could also look for the Eagles to acquire depth off the waiver wire at linebacker, and then the punter, to me, is the last thing. You've got to get a punter. Matt Ariz is out there. I thought Sippo stinks. I thought he was bad again last night. I don't trust him going in. I think he's literally your weakest position right now. So I'd like to see the Eagles go out and get a punter. That's another position to keep an eye out. But I expect Howie Roseman to make at least 2 moves, and I expect it to happen pretty quickly. And the Eagles, we're sitting pretty. We're ready for the regular season, and panic is happening in Dallas. They don't know what the hell's going on. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision. We're all just living in it. Okay, so one thing I want to say that I talked about this in my channel membership video, but I wanted to say it to everybody else because it's on my mind. I think preseason stinks. I think it stinks now. And I think they might as well get rid of the preseason games and start just putting on the open practices. Maybe hold like 4 open practices once a week. And then get a bunch of different cameras. Get a camera that will watch the receivers and the quarterbacks and the defensive players. And make it so somebody can go online and just switch the cameras and watch all these different positions. If you can't go to the preseason, if you can't go to the game. So you can watch these open practices. You'll get more out of that than you will these preseason games because they don't play any of their starters. It's not fun. Preseason used to be like a semi build-up to the season. You had week 1, starters play a drive. Week 2, they play a quarter. Week 3, they play a half, or sometimes they play the first series of the second half. And then the fourth game was always like the rest of the preseason is now, but it was there was a build-up. Now you don't even see the first string. You barely see the second string. And to me, it's just not good. Put out a bunch, do once a week open practices at the link. Get a bunch of stationary cameras and let people pay $5. You don't have to order that, or free. Make it free. And you can switch cameras and watch. I want to watch quarterbacks. Boom, I hit it. Watch quarterback. I want to watch running backs. Boom, I hit it. And just watch. That would be a lot better than what they're doing now. My opinion. Denzel Washington out.